The Galactic Council had made their decision and there was no changing it now, because the Zilthrian Empire needed something from humanity that even their advanced technology could not provide, and that something was hope in the form of biological compatibility which their dying race desperately required after centuries of genetic manipulation had left them unable to reproduce. Naturally, Commander Jake Morrison stood in the diplomatic chamber of the orbital station above Earth, watching as the alien delegation approached with careful measured steps, and he could feel the weight of this moment pressing down on his shoulders, like the gravity of a dozen worlds, because whatever happened next would change everything for both species, and possibly for the entire galaxy itself. The lead ambassador was named Lyra, and she moved with the fluid grace of someone who had lived far longer than any human could imagine, and her silver skin seemed to shimmer under the station's artificial lighting while her large violet eyes studied him with an intensity that made him want to look away. But he held her gaze because that was what commanders did even when facing the unknown. She spoke through the translation device that floated between them, and her words came out smooth and measured as she explained that her people were offering a gift that was both precious and heartbreaking in equal measure, and Jake listened carefully, trying to understand the full weight of what she was proposing, even though parts of it seemed impossible to believe. The Zilthrians had discovered through their research that human genetics held a unique compatibility with their own species, and they believed that through careful integration, they might be able to save their civilization from extinction. And in exchange for allowing this experiment, they were offering knowledge, technology, and resources beyond anything Earth had ever seen. But there was a condition that made Jake's stomach twist with uncertainty, because they were not asking for volunteers from the general population, and they were not requesting access to genetic samples or laboratory partnerships, and instead they wanted to give him a female from their species who could no longer bear children of her own kind, but who they believed might be able to carry hybrid offspring if paired with a human male. Her name was Kira, and when she entered the chamber, Jake felt his breath catch in his throat because despite being from another world entirely, she was beautiful in a way that transcended species boundaries, and her movements held a sadness that he recognized immediately as the grief of someone who had lost something fundamental to their identity. Kira's reproductive system had been damaged during the wars that had ravaged her homeworld decades ago, and while Zilthrian medical technology could heal almost any wound, it could not restore what had been destroyed by weapons designed specifically to target genetic material. And so she had lived for years as an outcast among her own people, who valued fertility above almost all other qualities. The council explained that human males possessed something unique in their biological makeup that Zilthrian scientists believed could compensate for Kira's condition, and they theorized that with proper medical support and genetic therapy, a human man might be able to help her conceive and carry offspring that would be part human and part Zilthrian, creating a new hope for both species. Jake was given 3 days to make his decision, and during that time he learned everything he could about Kira and her people, and he discovered that she was not just a failed mother, as some of her kind cruelly called her, but was actually a brilliant scientist who had contributed more to her civilization's survival than most of the council members combined. When he finally agreed to the arrangement, it was not because of the technology or the resources Earth would gain, and it was not even because of some abstract duty to help save an alien species from extinction, but rather because when he looked into Kira's eyes, he saw someone who deserved a chance at happiness and purpose after years of pain and rejection. The bonding ceremony was simple by Zilthrian standards but felt overwhelming to Jake as he stood beside Kira and promised to honor her and protect her and help her achieve what her own people said was impossible, and she looked at him with gratitude mixed with fear because she had been disappointed so many times before that hoping again felt like inviting another wound. The medical treatments began immediately, and Jake learned that his role would be far more involved than he had initially understood, because Zilthrian reproduction required constant biological synchronization between partners, and this meant regular treatments, injections, and procedures that would alter his own body chemistry to become compatible with hers. The first months were difficult as his body adjusted to the alien compounds flowing through his system, and he experienced symptoms that human doctors had never encountered before, including heightened emotional sensitivity and physical changes that made him feel disconnected from his own flesh. But Kira was there beside him, patient and kind as she guided him through each stage. She taught him about her world and her culture, and he began to understand that Zilthrian society had once valued partnership and cooperation above individual achievement. But centuries of declining birth rates had twisted their values into something desperate and cruel, where those who could not reproduce were treated as lesser beings. As the treatments progressed, something unexpected began to happen because the genetic modifications were not just affecting their ability to conceive, but were actually creating a deep biological bond between them that went beyond anything either species had documented, and Jake found himself experiencing Kira's emotions as if they were his own feeling. Her hope and fear and determination as clearly as his own heartbeat. The day they learned the treatment had worked and Kira was finally pregnant was one of pure joy as tears streamed down both their faces, and they held each other in the medical bay, while the Zilthrian doctors looked on with amazement because they had not actually believed it would succeed and had prepared themselves for another failure. But the pregnancy was not like anything the doctors had predicted, because while Kira's body was carrying the child, it was Jake's biology that was adapting most dramatically, and he began experiencing symptoms that no human male had ever faced before, including the development of specialized glands that would allow him to provide nutrition for the infant after birth. The Zilthrian medical team was fascinated and slightly horrified as they watched Jake's body transform in ways their models had not predicted, and he was changing at a genetic level, becoming something new that was neither fully human nor Zilthrian but rather a bridge between both species. As Kira's pregnancy advanced, she became weaker rather than stronger because her damaged reproductive system was struggling to support the hybrid life growing inside her, and the doctors warned that she might not survive the birth and that they should prepare for the possibility that Jake would have to raise the child alone the night before the scheduled delivery. Kira held Jake's hand and told him that even if she did not survive, she was grateful for these months of feeling whole again and of knowing that something beautiful would come from all her years of pain, and he promised her that he would protect their child and teach them about both worlds and make sure they knew how brave their mother had been. The birth was traumatic and complicated, and there were moments when the medical team thought they would lose both mother and child. But somehow both survived, though Kira was left even more damaged than before, and the doctors said she would never be able to carry another pregnancy. Their daughter was named Maya, and she was perfect in every way, with her mother's violet eyes and her father's warm smile and skin that shifted between silver and tan depending on the light. And she was the first of her kind, a true hybrid who belonged to two worlds simultaneously. But something strange happened in the weeks after Maya's birth, because, while Kira recovered slowly in the medical bay, it was Jake who was caring for the infant full-time, and his body continued to change, developing the ability to produce a milk-like substance that perfectly met Maya's nutritional needs, and experiencing hormonal shifts that gave him instincts and intuitions about parenting that felt both foreign and completely natural. The Zilthrian Council was stunned when they reviewed the medical data, because what had happened to Jake was unprecedented in all their centuries of genetic research, and he had become something their language did not have words for, because he was functioning as what humans would call a mother, even though he remained biologically male in most other respects. As Maya grew, it became clear that she would need both her parents in ways that went beyond normal child rearing, because her hybrid biology required careful monitoring, and her dual heritage meant she belonged fully to neither human nor Zilthrian culture, and she would have to forge her own identity with their guidance. Jake found himself becoming the primary caregiver, not because Kira was unwilling, but because his transformed biology made him uniquely suited to meet Maya's needs, and he discovered a fierce, protective love that he had never imagined possible, and a patience and intuition that surprised everyone, including himself. Word of their success spread throughout the galaxy, and soon other Zilthrian women who had been deemed sterile were asking if they too might find hope through bonding with human males, and the council was forced to reconsider everything they thought they knew about reproduction and family and the value of